Hi and welcome to another gaming video, and in today's video I'm taking a look at this. This is an R4 SDHC Dual Core 2021 flash card for DS, DS Lite, DSi and 3DS, and the reason I bought it is because I've got some older R4 cards that will not work on my 3DS. A couple of them won't even work on a DSi. So I bought this, so it was touted at working on the latest 3DS firmware, which currently is 11.15. It took a little while to arrive, and it came in this little sort of slip box. So this is the card itself. As you can see, it says 2021 up in the corner, R4 SDHC, and it says 2DS, 3DS, DSi, dual core smart update. The only other thing you got in the box is this little, it says DS happy box, but it looks like just a micro SD card reader. Yeah. So when you buy a flash card, unless you buy it as a package, they generally come without the micro SD in them. So I had to go and find one of those. So I've got a 16 gig micro SD card here. The box says it will take up to a 32 gig, but I think 16 is plenty. Once you've got your card in, you then need to go and find firmware for this card. Now, the address on the box there doesn't work. There is an address on the card reader which allows you to go there and install a piece of software. Supposedly will find the right firmware for your card, but it only runs on Windows, and it still asks you what does it look like, what the box is, and then you can go and download ROMs illegally, which I don't condone or recommend. I went on a hunt to try and find firmware that would actually work with this. I found two that would allow it to boot. One would get stuck on the loading screen, and the other one would come up with a couldn't find dsmenu.dat. So then I went and spent an hour looking around at different firmwares and trying them out to see if I could find one. Finally found one mentioned on a Reddit post, which I did get to work, and interestingly, when it's loaded, it doesn't show R4 at all, it shows Acekard. So perhaps this little card here isn't an actual R4 card, perhaps it's a clone or a fake, but it shows up and works as an Acekard. So I've tried it in my Nintendo DS Lite. And it comes up and it says Deep Labyrinth Atlas. As you can see, it works, and it says Acekard at the top there. I've got Super Mario Brothers loaded onto this card. Don't worry, I do own it. Just to see if it works. And as you can see, it works fine. So it works on the DS Lite, which means it will work on the original DS. I did try it on a DSi XL, and that worked perfectly fine. So what I actually bought it for was to work on 3DSs and 2DSs. So I've got my son's 3DS here. It's an original 3DS. Now, it is running custom firmware. And the reason why I didn't try it on my new 2DS XL is because on my new 2DS XL I've got custom firmware and an R4 launcher, which should make any R4 card work. So this one is running custom firmware, but it doesn't have the launcher. So let's see if it works. Well, it showed up as Deep Labyrinth Atlas. And there we go. So as you can see, it showed up as Acekard on this as well. Load a little bit of Super Mario so you can see it working. So it works on a 3DS, and I'm assuming it will work even if you don't run custom firmware, because like I said, I don't have any kind of special magic R4 tool on this. So just for the interest of this video, I'm going to show it working on my new 2DS XL. Which does have custom firmware and does have a special R4 launcher. So, is it worth buying? Yes, it is, as long as you can find the right firmware for it. It's labelled as an R4 card. None of the R4 firmwares that I've got, and I must have tried about 20, will work. I just stumbled across somebody who had the same problem, and was very kind to share a link, downloaded that file. It's a very small file and it worked, but it shows up as an Acekard. But it does the same thing. It allows you to play ROMs and homebrew stuff just as any other R4 card would. If you've got one of these and you've got some kind of R4 firmware to work, let me know. I've tried multiple different places, even official places that show you a picture of this card. The firmware that you then get to download doesn't work. A lot of them say that they're 2018 firmwares, even though it's a 2021 card, so I'm just not entirely sure that this card is as legit as it says, or is exactly what it is supposed to be. It says 2021 on there. I could only find firmware up to 2018, and even then that didn't work. But this weird Acekard firmware did work. So was it worth purchasing? Yes, it was. A little bit of a headache to get working, but as you can see, I've now had that in 3 different devices across the whole DS line, and it's great. So if you're looking for a flash card that works on a 3DS as well as your other devices, then I do recommend this. It does work. It just takes a little bit of a faffing around to get it to go. Let me know if you've got one. Let me know if you've used a different firmware or if you're using the Acekard firmware too. Link, like, subscribe, enjoy.